Hi, folks, and welcome to another new day. And well done you for getting here. You may be sick of hearing me say this, but that just didn't happen. You got yourself here, and it's important to acknowledge that for yourself. As you know, we've been doing a series on anger and very short videos. And when I say very short, it's a lot more intense than that and a lot more to it than that. And it's important if you want to explore more of this that you maybe contact us and we can support you through the program proper. Uh, but in the past weeks, we've been looking at what anger is, where it comes from, how you can recognize it, how you can then, use tools to take yourself away from that. Begin to explore how, and directly through passive and aggressive anger, we try to get messages across to people, often without really understanding what that is. Uh, and then how we do this assertively. Now, the end of the program is really to try to resolve the core of where our anger is, often by having a conversation with people about why that is when you begin to understand that, and often to explain, that uh, you begin to recognize that, when you're angry, that you do cause harm to others. And it's really important to take responsibility of that because, as we said repeatedly, uh, usually the people you're around the most will trigger a response in you, but it's not their fault, and they are not intentionally, in the main, stepping out to annoy you. But whatever they're doing connects to something in the past for you, and then it's your responsibility to go away, explore what that is, and then come back later and have a conversation. Even, to create an understanding with the people around you so they understand maybe why you do that. However, you need to understand that first, and all the past messages or all the past videos have been about trying to understand what that is. So you come to the part about resolving this, about having your voice heard and your need met. And as I talked in the last video, uh, you really can't do that unless you allow the other person the opportunity to do the exact same. And remember, as I've also said, once anything goes beyond yourself, it's only an invitation to somebody else to listen to and hear what you have to say. Anytime you try to use force or coercion to do it, you've lost the conversation and you've lost even what you set out to do. Create that understanding. So for that to happen, it's not just about having a conversation, but it's about setting up a structure. And we've all come through the troubles, and you'll be mindful of a time when they talks about talks. And really, that's what we're talking about here. You have to, even before you begin to have this kind of conversation, outline what's involved in that. It's about the commitment, it's about saying that you're open and honest, but mostly about it's about safety. You're not going to be involved in a conversation if you think then you're going to be attacked, particularly if you try to explain yourself, or if people, as we've talked in the past, dredge up old things and say, well, I wouldn't have done this if you hadn't done that. The whole point of this, and it's actually where it comes down to conflict management, conflict resolution. It's about a consensus, a way forward. It's about an agreement that says we're doing this because we want to understand what's going on and we want to create something that is healthier for us and how we relate to each other, and that understands why we, act the way we do. And primarily for the person who is get angry the most, for them to take responsibility and say, look, I recognize the damage that I'm doing, and I've made efforts to change that. And I would like you to understand maybe what's been going on for me. Now, as I said, that can't happen unless you give assurances that it's going to be safe, it's going to be secure, it's going to be open and honest. It is important that, again, you're talking to the right person, and um, if the person in front of you is a trigger, you may need to explain why you've acted that way, but the conversation may have to happen with somebody else. Um, it is about the important bit here is creating an understanding. So it's about being hard on the issue but soft on the person. It's about ensuring that here there's something problematic and we want to try and find a way of dealing with that. So you're using, particularly always you're asked to use I statements. talk about yourself. We often, words are very important, and we can say, I think you should, or whatever. That basically says you've decided, that you're doing the thinking for the person. You made the decision, and the person's not included in the decision. So you can only say, when you're talking about any situation that happened, look, this was my sense of what was going on. Uh, and really, that kind of conveys a feeling. Um, you should always avoid things like you're always doing that, or you never do that. Or you do that all the time, because for that to happen, that's 24/7, 365 days of the week. And the only thing we do that time all the time is breathe. So it is often that, we pick up on, you know, um, behavior that happens repetitively and say, you're always doing that. So that excludes the part where people aren't doing that and are doing something else, probably living or caring. It's not about attacking the person, or their character. It's not about mind reading or dragging things up from the past. But it is about being able to say, look, I've come to understand what's going on for me. I would like you to hear it. And I'd also like to hear how it has affected you, because that feeds into, as we said at the first one of our videos, a greater sense of deterrent. The more we're able to hear how it actually affects somebody, the hope would be that we would stop ourselves going there, because we realize the harm we're doing to our individuals. Um, you kind of use active listening techniques now. I suppose as a counsellor and a counselling agency, we're well used to that, but it's like 2 ears, one mouth. You're supposed to listen twice as much as you speak. And essentially, what you actually do is, if you begin this process, then somebody should decide how they talk first. They should say what needs to be said. Often when we speak, we don't always get it exactly right. So it's important then, when we're finished, we're allowed to speak, and then the person will back, look, I think, is this what I hear you saying? And then that gives you an opportunity to amend that if need be. And only once you're clear about one person is saying, then you allow the other person to speak, and you do the exact same thing. So there is a consensus that you want to listen to the other person, you want to understand, and you want to actually look for a way forward. And often that's using kind of reflective or um, um, listening as they talk to. Um, all things have to be proportionate. As I say, it has to be very safe. It is about the consensus here is, there's been a difficulty. If we sit down and we talk together and we understand it, and we search for a solution, and we give a commitment to doing that, then we will have within us the ability to resolve what it is that we need to do. Now, you do need to uh, stay with that sometimes, particularly when it's difficult. When you're hearing things it's particularly uncomfortable for you, and there can be the tendency to jump to the attack mode, but then that negates the whole process effectively. But equally, it's important that you don't force it beyond breaking point. So if you then say, look, let's just stop here now because it's getting a wee bit too difficult, um, the important thing is to go back as soon as you can to it. And you're not going back to start from zero. You just recap on where you've been and where you've come from, and then you start again. And the whole essence is to work towards a process. Now, I have to say repeatedly, this does not work if both parties aren't committed to it, if both parties aren't open and honest, if both parties ensure from the outset and stick to the fact that it's not here to attack anybody, or it's not here to make anybody feel unduly uncomfortable, but it's here as a mechanism to understand what's going on. And in that instance, it can be very helpful. But as I say to you, there's more to this program than just what we've done in video. Life makes people angry. People's experiences makes people angry, but sadly, they're often, displayed against the people who are around the most. And this has been an attempt to give a bit of an understanding of that. It's not certainly, in any way a response to any domestic violence instance, because at that stage behaviour is so ingrained. It'll take an awful lot more to actually change this, but it is an early intervention uh, program to allow people who want to take responsibility, who recognise, how they are around people isn't healthy and want to do something about it. And if you want to do that, then we know from our own experience you can have great success in that. And so, if you want to know more about that, please come and contact us, and we can talk you through the program or give you maybe our counselling support, particularly if the reason for your anger raised some things in the past that needs to be addressed, so we can support that also. So thank you for listening. There will be accompanying documents along with this on our Facebook. If you want the full program, again, just ring in and tell us. I hope it's been of use. And all of this, what we are trying to do, and you heard me say repeatedly, is to get ourselves to talk gently to ourselves and be loving and kind to ourselves, but then share that with others, and to ensure that we're talking kindly to them. And this can be a way of doing that, but also treating them in a loving and respectful and dignified and compassionate way. And if we're doing that, they are more likely to respond when you give the invitation out. So thank you for being part of this series of videos. I wish you peace for the rest of the day. Hope it will be of help, and hopefully we'll talk again soon. Bye for now.